Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. The Titans' home opener is Sunday against the New York Jets at Nissan Stadium. The league company countdown to kickoff hits the air at 9. Titans countdown starts at 11 for a noon kickoff with Mike Keith, Coach Mack, and the rest of the Titans radio crew. Head coach Brian Callahan giving an injury update earlier today, and there is no update. There are 0 injury designations. Everybody available, according to Callahan, for Week 2 against the Jets. 2 0-1 teams, both looking for their first win. The Tennessee Vols are back at Neyland Stadium on Saturday, hosting Kent State. 6:45 is the kickoff. Vol Network coverage starts on The Zone at 4:45. And in other college football news, another Georgia football player has been arrested for reckless driving. A sophomore cornerback, Daniel Harris, was booked on Thursday night in Athens ahead of Georgia's trip to Kentucky on Saturday. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once, and your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
It's a Football Friday here on 104.5 The Zone. This is Blaine and Zach coming at you, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. Come join the conversation over on the F&M Bank chat, over on Zone TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live, and then also 615-737-1045. We are flushing the Bears loss. It's gone. It's out of the building. We are focused on the New York Jets today, and I just want to jump right into it, Blaine. Week 2, I cannot believe I heard this week because I've never heard it put into this context, but Bill Belichick said that Week 2 is of the utmost importance and maybe even more important than Week 1. We actually have a clip that I'm going to play for you and get your reaction on from the coach with Bill Belichick, which is also with Michael Lombardi and Matt Patricia on the panel. So this is what Bill Belichick had to say about the importance of Week 2.
I would say just, a different matchups, right? Different matchups. Every team's got a different matchup, and we'll see how, some of these things now start to level out or not. Right. And then, of course, the home openers for these teams that played on the road. Like most of the teams played on the road. Now they're coming back home. That'd be a good opportunity for some of them to go 2-0, or some of them to come back and get back to 500 and kind of get a restart on the season. So I think really Week 2, I've always felt like that was more important than Week 1. If you win Week 1 and then you win Week 2 and you're 2-0, like, you got something going. If you lose Week 1 and you come back and win Week 2, it's like, all right, well, we reset here. All right, now we can push forward. The tough one is when you are 0-1 and then you drop that second one and you're 0-2. Now things start. It's still a long way to go, but things start to tighten up a little bit. Yeah. And so I think winning that second week is. I always felt like that was better than winning the first week. To be honest with you, not that you don't want to win both of them.
So he's talking about the importance of Week 2. He's talking about the importance of coming back home after you're being a road team. All things that tie into the Tennessee Titans as they look to take on the New York Jets and start their home game. Under Bill Callahan, started at 1-0. Their home game streak at 1-0. How important is this Week 2 for Will Levis, the defense, and the Tennessee Titans as a whole?
Well, in general, they're all important. Just like Coach Belichick said there. He's the best ever. So they're all important because there's only so many. But naturally, the home opener, now that you're over, you can go and coach up, all the mistakes, even on the defensive side. Nobody played perfect, and you can find holes in what happened out there, even though they didn't, the Bears didn't get to take advantage of that. So I would say, this is big. This is the home opener, the excitement, the fans, they all get started. But I think as the Titans need to get up and really start fast. And the reason why I say that is I want the pressure all on the Jets. Guess why? The Jets lose this game, they're going to start getting tight as the game goes along. And if they're losing, they're going to start pressing, and they're going to start making mistakes. In particular, even veteran quarterback Aaron Rodgers, because then, guess what? Their next game is on Thursday.
Right.
Yeah, their next game is on Thursday. Another short week. They can go 0-2, and then Rodgers already knows this. Most players probably not looking ahead, but they know their schedule. And then all of a sudden, now you can start in the 0-3. They play New England after this on Thursday. Yeah, and that's a division game for them. So I just feel like, the Titans get off fast, put the pressure on, the Jets, then now we're gonna have a conversation because they're gonna start feeling the heat and the pressure. Going in after halftime, if the Titans are up and let's say 10 points, which is still a lot. There's some comfort in that, and then they better come out blazing. So I'm a little concerned the Jets' defense is going to come out pissed. You know what off because they got manhandled and out physicaled by the 49ers. We can tell, they're a playoff team. Well, where they're trying to aspire to. What are the expectations for the Jets?
Does nobody think that the Jets are supposed to be a playoff team?
So maybe they're not where they need to be, and then we all could say they went to the West Coast, and it was the first game. There are always some, bad games where you don't play well, and that doesn't dictate what your team is this season. So even the Titans and everybody else, the week one can be a fooler. Now, it can fool you who's good and who's really not. I think we know that the 49ers still are in contention for a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. They're a really good team in their scheme and system and the players they have. So especially their offensive line. So you can't go into this game and say, well, we'll just run the ball just like the 49ers do. We don't have, guys, the same offensive linemen as they do. Because if you tell me any of our players is as good as Trent Williams, I'll be like, oh, man, we going to the Super Bowl. Because he's a mean, nasty son of a gun. That's why he held out. And guess what? He was out there. He probably had to, get a shot for cramping or something, knowing he's a big, massive human being. There's certain players, some players just don't mess with. You just leave them the heck alone. He is one of them. Yeah. You just say, no. During my era, Eric Williams for the Cowboys. And we didn't have to play him very much. They were the NFC. He was a guy like you, ooh, I don't know about that. Or with the Jaguars, Leon Cersei. He just looked like, what'd you say? Oh, nothing. I'm going that way. That's it. Hey, man, some of these guys, you just don't want to, have battles. So this, getting off to the good start, put the pressure on the Jets, I think, is the recipe to get them. But we got to do it, though.
I want to go back to something that you were talking about, is the expectations of the Jets and all this kind of stuff. Earlier today, Mike Tannenbaum said that he expects the Tennessee Titans to win. And then who was the player that went off on him?
Bart Scott. I talked to Bart last night, but we didn't know that conversation was going to happen. But
Bart Scott goes off on him. He can't believe it. But we're talking about expectations here. And I also want to talk about the difference in the expectations or the pressure put on by the media. Because a lot of fans have been really down on the coverage all week of the Tennessee Titans, specifically of Will Levis, in such a negative light. And maybe we did let it draw out a little bit longer than we should have.
The first day we say you flush it after 24 hours, but that don't mean we don't keep talking about it. You got to be objective and critique about it. They're upset with our coverage of it. Not our personally, but the media landscape's coverage here in Nashville. If you think that's bad, go over to New York, where everybody's mad. Everybody's upset, including the fans, and they have Aaron Rodgers because they have higher expectations on him. How does media coverage really, because we're in such an online world, Blaine, everybody's plugged in. How do you, as a player, kind of keep that out of mind while you're trying to prep for the week and not try to overdo it on a Sunday? Because it's a little bit different, nowadays where everybody's online, everybody's watching clips, everybody's got an opinion and all this kind of stuff. So, how do you... And listen, how do you block it out?
How do you block it out?
I don't know, because I never had to go through that. So this is a different era for players. That's why you were talking earlier in the week, the mental part of the game. And this is, that's why all these teams now have mental coaches. They got that at the end of my career there with the Titans. And so now almost every team, I'm pretty sure probably every team has that because of what's out there, and you can't do anything about it, whether true or false. But those are the people who are writing the articles to put the thought in the brains of the mass, right? So I don't know how it affects the players. You just got to be true to who you are and believe in what's going on. But everybody's a human being. So just imagine that every profession that you do, somebody is talking negatively that you can see. Right, heckling you on social media.
Even if you work at Home Depot, someone's following you around to heckle you.
And so it's tough because it wears on you.
Yeah.
You could say it doesn't. That's why most people, especially quarterbacks, I'm going to say that most quarterbacks, they just turn off their account during the season or what have you and then just keep it moving because it can get in your head. I'm sorry. Man, if you got that kind of mental block, there are people I'm sure it doesn't bother, but I'm sure the majority, you read it and you say, well, that's not true. Why are they even saying that? Or, I'm just sitting here with the coaches. I mean, they're saying everything, it's fine. So, that's the fans, that's the media. And also the media is writing stories to get a story, to get a click. And part of it is probably true. So what portion of it isn't or not? I mean, I don't know. I mean, if I was playing today, I don't know if I would really be a part of social media.
I definitely wouldn't if I was a player. The other thing is I wanted to touch on is like the away
During the
game.
season.
Yeah, open up in a hostile environment of the Bears, which you kind of neutered by the second half, but then let them back in. And now you're coming back home, which this isn't the days of old where Nissan Stadium had a massive home field advantage, but I'm sure there's an air of excitement, and there should be. I don't know how much last week's play plays into it, but there should be a good amount of Titans fans in there being loud, being excited. And we know that, other teams' fans like to filter in, but how much does going from away game to home game give you an advantage as a team heading into week 2 that's coming off a loss?
Well, before we answer that, I'm going to do that after that. But I want you to answer if someone was approaching you on social media, on the chat, which they do every day, so that's somewhat similar as an athlete. Yeah. How do you respond to that? Because, see, it also tells you how you're wired. And some guys, it doesn't bother at all.
It bothers me, but I don't let it get to me. I think I really do relate to what Coach Mack said on Buck's show earlier today when we talked about Will Levis. He said, let it bother you, but don't let it bury you.
Right.
And I agree with that. So I think that because
no different
I
than
do
what we say 24-hour year.
Yeah, I do want to, and usually I'll forget what someone said maybe 2 days later. Mm-hmm. But it's also, there's a problem. I have a really good memory about certain things. So there's also an issue of you could say you can forget it, but if you have a really good memory, it's always going to pop up at some point.
I think most quarterbacks do.
Yeah. So I look at it and I go, I don't let it change who I am. Uh-huh. I go forward. Now, if it's a good constructive criticism, I'll try to take it into effect and try to look at it. Like someone yesterday suggested, maybe you should do he's Blaine, I'm Zach, instead of I'm Zach, he's Blaine. And he suggested, and I tried that. It kind of worked, but I still fumbled. It's just a natural fumble, really. Uh-huh. But I think that as a person that is always striving to be the best or trying to be competitive, if you don't let certain things bother you, it kind of gives you a competitive edge. And there's some stuff where I just bank it as, oh, I got haters and let the haters hate. And I kind of love the haters.
In a different box.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's how an athlete is. I would say it's just like the normal person. I don't know why people just think that being an athlete and under this microscope, guess what? Everybody's under the microscope. You know why? Because everybody has one of these now. People must realize they are actually media too, regardless if you got the media designation on you or not. Everybody is media. And that's how you better look at it if you're an athlete.
Yep.
Every day, somebody's got a phone.
And there's so much free access to data and all this stuff that anybody can put, if they put in the work to understand stuff, like I have, you can get to a certain level of credibility and stuff like that. So
of course.
It's a lot harder to hide, I guess you could say. Not that necessarily that people are hiding, but it's a lot harder to hide. When we come back, we'll talk about home field advantage. We'll talk about the rate of improvement. We'll talk what changes need to be expected. He's Blaine. I'm Zach. This is Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone.
For many of you who have lived here a long time, you already know Eurofix has been in Middle Tennessee area for your European car repair needs now for 24 years. And we've all gotten to watch them grow. And I don't know about you, but I love watching a hometown business take off. Well, we're now proud to announce the 5th location in Mount Juliet for Eurofix on Mount Juliet Road, right across the street from Dairy Queen. And Eurofix can serve you in Franklin, Hundred Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. Pretty cool getting to watch a small-town mechanic starting in the barn of his backyard of a single-wide trailer and now grow to 5 locations repairing thousands of cars each month. And at Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can just visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But always tell them Blaine sent ya.
think the biggest thing is don't kid yourself. Come in after week one and identify the problems. These are the problems. This is what we got to fix. Let's, I think you can really make a mistake saying, well, everything's okay here when it really isn't. Well, eventually 3 or 4 weeks later, you're going to really find out that it isn't. If it's not okay, then what can we do to address it? Maybe we can work around it, try to push stay away from that area that's not a strength for us, whatever it happens to be, play less man-to-man coverage or get the ball out quicker on pass, but whatever it happens to be, figure out a way to address the problem rather than ignore it and say, well, we're going to be okay.
Don't kid yourself. It's still Blaine and Zach here on 104.5 The Zone, here on Zone Zone TVs where you can catch us. See, fumbled right there, right off the bat. Doesn't matter. Zone TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. Come join the F&M Bank chat. We're having some good conversation today. 615-737-1045. If you want to get in on the conversation, voice to voice, I guess, with us.
So Bill just said what I exactly said yesterday.
Don't kid yourself.
We were talking about. We both were.
Don't kid yourself.
Yeah, like you got to address the issue, and you got to have somewhat thick skin and be able to take constructive criticism as an athlete. And because, you should be striving to be the best version of you, and they will be trying to correct you so you will get accomplished what not only they want you to do, but also what's going to help you in your career, whether you're there the next year or not, but it's going to get you a contract. So you got to look at it from a professional point of view. So, that's just how it is in probably all pro sports. But I can tell you one thing, it was like that in our locker room, and some coaches were different on how they address players, and some were mild-mannered. At the same time, you got to start understanding players and you got to know what buttons to push on them to get them to go. And that's up to the coach, but it's also up to the player, understand who they are as people. So to me, sometimes that goes unnoticed by the actual player.
They
don't really understand who they are.
The old saying, you can either get bitter or get better. And I think that applies to all walks of life.
Yes.
I'll tell. We were talking about if you got, if someone said something to you on the internet or whatever, how would you respond?
Yeah.
I go to a story that my dad told.
Don't push sand.
Well, I go to a story that my dad told me. Okay. So I was born in 85, so I don't know if this was in 85. It's in the mid-80s. Okay. He was washing cars. My parents had moved down to Florida, and he was washing cars back in the day. And someone pulled up in a Corvette. Dad's washing it or drying it off, I think, at that point. And he asked the guy, how much does something like this cost? And the guy looks at Dad square in the face, says, it doesn't matter, you'll never be able to afford it, and drives off. My dad now owns his own business, and he can afford whatever car he wants right now. And he used that as motivation. He got better, not bitter. And I think that's ingrained in my DNA as well. One of the good things I got from my dad. So
great story there.
Yeah. Sure. So that was always, he's told me that at his young age. So that's something that's always stuck with me. And I think that, like Taylor Swift said, as Benjamin Buck in the F&M Bank YouTube chat says, you just got to shake it off. Got to shake it off.
Keep it moving. Yeah, you would have never guessed.
Yeah,
they said I wasn't a Division I player. How about that?
Yeah, look at you now.
I dictate how good I'm gonna be.
Right,
not you.
Well, speaking of dictating stuff, I mean, there's obviously, don't kid yourself. So as you're looking, if you're the Tennessee Titans looking at week 1, you're now looking ahead at week 2, and you got to make some changes. There are certain things that didn't work that you found out, okay, these plays maybe are not our best plays, so we need to figure out what our best plays are. What's our best personnel? What benefits our quarterback? What benefits our offensive line? What helps us generate pressure? That is what they're looking for. If you kid yourself, you're not going to be able to answer those questions appropriately, and you're going to go out there and you're going to make the same mistakes over and over. Think special teams. Don't kid yourself about special teams. You did not play good special teams, and they know that. They recognize that. But they got to actually make changes, right? So you have to recognize the mistakes. And I think there's also something to be said about the rate of improvement. And that's something that also Bill Belichick talked about on this podcast. And as you can tell, I'm a big Bill Belichick fan because you learn so much as a fan from ex-players, ex-coaches, because they kind of can let the information fly a little bit more, give you a peek behind the curtain. So he talked about the rate of improvement from week 1 to week 2 and why not all rate of improvements are built the same.
Yeah, I think every team is going to improve from week 1 to week 2. It's the rate of improvement.
Yeah.
What team improves more than another team? And we won't know that until the following Sunday. But everybody's going to get better. But look, there's only 17 games. If you only get better 17 times, that's just not enough. You got to use Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday to continue to improve through the week. If everybody can improve 5-10%, every coach, every player, then that rising tide will lift the boats up to a much higher point.
So when you're talking about Will Levis, when you're talking about Peter Skoronski, J.C. Latham, special teams, play calling, it's not that you're looking for, you would love to have 50% better than last week, but really just all these individual players need to make it 5 to 10% better from week 1 to week 2, and then that will help get you better. The other problem is that you have Aaron Rodgers. You have all these veterans on the other side of the coin coming in on the field, and they may have a better rate of improvement. So what you think, I just thought that was an interesting way to put it, is that you're not looking for Will Levis to go, 20% better. If he was just 5% better on Sunday, if Latham was just 10% better, if Skoronski was just 5% better, if the special teams was just Jack Gibbons was 10% better on that block, we'd be talking about a totally different team. And so that's what I feel like you need to be looking for in week 2 is across the board, everybody gets better.
Yeah, that's what I said. Everybody, I said this earlier in the week, is that, everybody's striving to win their individual battles. I think he's looking at it from a different perspective, which is appreciated. But for me personally, I always say this. I don't know how much better I got during the season, but I was ready to rock and roll week 1. So to me, and then I stabilized that with consistency throughout. Maybe you didn't get a whole bunch of splash plays, but you sure in the heck didn't get no plays. So, and maybe I'm looking at it from once I got into the league, but I would say that's how it was, except besides my rookie year, that's how it was going to be for me. And I think that's just more me, my inner drive to be, strive for perfection, knowing in reality you will never, ever be perfect. But I guess I sure believe that I could. And so that was me internally. So I can't even relate to what he's saying, to be honest.
Gotcha.
Just because that's who I was. So if you talk to other players who are trying to get better than they were, I'm trying to now, at this point, I'm trying to be consistent. And hopefully I have some splash plays amongst those, games. But, that nobody is going to critique me harder than myself. So
gotcha.
That's kind of how I roll. So, yeah, a lot of players probably can, relate to what he's saying. I can't.
Well, when we talk about changes or improvements that we need to see, it obviously starts with Will Levis, but it also starts really with the game planning, with the play calling, with putting your quarterback, first off, to give him the best chance to succeed within the structure of your offense that you are dictating. Because you said you got to let him sink or swim in the offense, my offense. And so...
Well, let me put it in context. I'm running my offense, but I'm also running my offense where I think he could have success.
Gotcha.
So I'm not, but he should be able to fit in anything, if not, because I'm trying to run the offense to make sure he is comfortable if he's my quarterback, but I'm not running a wing T and say, he's not a wing T, he's got a big arm. So in the NFL, pretty much everybody you got to drop back and throw the ball and read coverages.
Gotcha.
So in my eyes, any quarterback can fit in it. You're tailoring it to some of their likes.
Yeah.
But you should be able to run your offense with any quarterback or running back or offensive tackle or guard. Some going to favor what they do more to their liking. I'm in the 46 defense. That made my traits enhanced to a whole nother level. If I was in a regular cover 2 scheme defense, I probably would have been just a good starter, never made any Pro Bowls, maybe one. See, so you got to just kind of look at it from that perspective. That's how, all players that are in the NFL are really elite athletes. So now you're just trying to get them to play their best in their ability in whatever scheme it is.
See, that's why I think we'll see some maybe not significant shifts in what the offense is, but I think of how it runs. Because I feel like this team is
that execution?
No, I think there's a couple different things. So Will Levis has been a little bit better out of 12 personnel even last year. Okay. And this year, or this past week, I put out a tweet. They ran 12 personnel at the 26th highest rate, so 26. Right. But they had an EPA of 0.27. Okay, so expected points added, but that's the fifth high. So they were very efficient. The EPA just really measures efficiency. Okay. They were very efficient out of 12 personnel. Pass or run were both positive. It did not matter. But they only ran it 7 plays, which was the 26th lowest. Now, and I said that we should see a good balance of 12 personnel.
You thought we would, right?
Because that's what Bill Callahan likes to run out of. Well, there's the proof in the pudding that 12 personnel needs to be bumped up because they used 11 personnel, 1 running back, 1 tight end, 3 wide receivers, 81.2% of their offensive plays. That was the 5th highest rank in that last week in week 1 in the NFL. Their efficiency out of 11 personnel was 30th.
No, I'm going to just pump the brakes on this a little bit. Now, okay, how does that impact when, we should probably run 12 personnel, we should run the football more. Let's just say it said that. But yet you got behind the chains, and that's why you weren't running that more.
Well, they came out in shotgun all the time, and they very were under center.
So were they in shotgun because they were behind the chains?
Well, it could be, but I mean, can you not run plays out of 12 personnel even if you're behind the chains? I don't think that it should limit you that much because the yards per attempt and all that stuff. Right, it depends on the defense. But the defense usually comes out and is a reaction to the offense, correct? I mean, that's what Coach Mack was kind of saying earlier today.
Well, I want to ask Coach Mack what our defense does. Do you think our reaction?
Did you dictate what the offense personnel put out there?
I don't know about the offense, but I can tell you about defenses, and I can tell you that.
And maybe I'm misunderstanding what Coach Mack said, but
what I've said the whole entire time about Wilson, his scheme and system, it will dictate to the offense. So that don't sound like that matches up with what you're saying because it's an attacking style defense. Now, you mix and match depending on your opponent, how much you do of that.
Gotcha.
But guess what? You're still attacking if you're playing man-to-man. Guess why? Because we feel like we got a dude that can get your dude and we got another dude over here. That's still attacking even if you're not blitzing. You just got a free roller who's running around as a safety. So it's still somewhat still attacking.
You're still putting out cover 0, but maybe what you see is something different. How you attack the offense after you see what they got out there is something different.
And watch this. I'm about to get you.
Okay.
What do you think the Bears did the second half? They started attacking. They started attacking our offense. So you want to dictate to them and force them to do what you want them to do or get uncomfortable in what they are doing. We got to try something else. The Titans already were in that mode because of the coordinator and what he wants, because I played in somewhat similar style of that. And now it can burn you. You better have the right personnel. But it's an attacking. You're trying to disrupt timing. You're trying to get them off kilter. And offenses are based off of rhythm and timing. And so you're trying to disrupt all of that. Whether it's pressure or you beat them with your front four, however you want to do it.
Yeah.
But even messing up timing, and we play man-to-man on outside, and we play in cover 1, guess what? It's not going to be on time because I had my guy put his hands on you.
So when you see a team like San Francisco go out there, and so I want to use San Francisco as an example.
Well, because they're an anomaly, though. They run the ball better than anybody.
I'm not trying to compare. I'm trying to expand on what you're trying to say and trying to understand. Okay, so they used 21 personnel, which is 2 running backs, 1 tight end, which is the fullback. Kyle Juszczyk is the main other guy.
Wait, you're getting caught up in the number of you want 12 personnel. Every 12 personnel is not the same. Do we have the same offensive line as the 49ers? Think about it before you answer.
No, but okay. Okay, you got to let me finish my question, I think, okay? So when they used 21 personnel at a really high rate, okay, for this particular game. Is that, if it didn't work, I guess what my question is like, it was working for them. Are they not dictating to the defense then?
They were. Okay. They were able to. And that's why the Jets defense looked horrific.
Okay. So that's what I'm trying to get to.
No, but I said what the defense is trying to do, and the offense is trying to do the same. That's why you have to be able to run the football, because then you can kind of control what's going on. What happened to the Titans in the Bears game? Once they couldn't run the football or got behind the chains and had to throw, the Bears all of a sudden defense started looking really good. So you have to be able to run the football in the National Football League, regardless. Even if it's, 3 yards, 2 yards, you have to keep the defenses honest, or they're going to start dictating you, and you don't have options to make plays in this game to move the football.
I go back to my question then of 12 personnel obviously worked for the Tennessee Titans, but they only ran 7 plays.
When you say it worked,
it was efficient.
Like what was the numbers?
I'll have to look up the numbers. It was efficient. It was one of the best 12 personnel defenses of the NFL. So out of everybody that ran a 12 personnel defense, they had one of the best efficiency ratings. So that means they were gaining the yards. They were expected to add points. Heck, the Tony Pollard run came on 12 personnel, one running back, 2 tight ends. The Chig throw was 11 personnel. So it's not that they didn't have success on 11 personnel plays, that all the other 52 plays were very inefficient. And yes, down and distance matters, but there was a lot of first down shotgun runs, a lot of first down runs with 11 personnel. And I'll have to go find those numbers, but exactly what they were. But they did. They ran a lot on first downs from the shotgun, or they passed a lot on first downs from the shotgun, 11 personnel. So at some point, it doesn't sound, what I'm getting at, it doesn't sound like they were really dictating as much as they thought they were. And it feels like they could have dictated a little bit more in the second half, and they just weren't. They were kind of leaning on what they had. So when this Jets team comes in, this Jets team that is vulnerable so far, again, San Francisco's the big caveat, right? Big asterisk, Blaine. San Francisco's personnel. But if your team is already better from 12 personnel, I guess here's a better way to frame this. With what you saw from the Jets and what you saw from the Titans, do you think it's wise to stay in 11 personnel as much as they did, or maybe try to find a balance? Because that's where I'm at. I'm not saying they need to go 81% 12 personnel. I'm just thinking maybe it needs to go back to 60%, 3 wide receiver sets, and then maybe bump that 10.9% up to 30% 2 tight end sets.
You know what? I love your points here, because it to me, it should make coaches think. The NFL is built on matchups. See, you want to look at a one-game sample size about a team who's been a Super Bowl contending team last 2 years. They have better personnel than the Tennessee Titans. Brock Purdy is not Levis. Trent Williams is nobody on our team. I mean, they got guys all over the place. You check, who's that?
Yeah.
Well,
I will tell you something I saw from the film of San Francisco. If Juszczyk is the only backer, true back, out of all the running backs on the field, that ball's going to Debo.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So hopefully everybody else saw that, too.
Yeah.
We're watching film of the coaches. So I think when you're going in every game, you can look at those numbers, and to me, you can kind of lean into them to see if it works. But at the end of the day, it's about you want to use your personnel matchups where you think you can win.
Yeah.
And sometimes, even though those personnel groupings that you mentioned will work, one game may not work the next game because of matchups. And by the way, the more you go along, everybody's going to see what you're trying to do, and they're going to try to make sure that you don't do that and make you do something you don't want to do.
Yeah.
So
it seems like the Bears were able to do that.
Right. It's for sure in the second half. But, so it's a cat and mouse. So
yeah.
I think to all your points, I think you got to balance it out as a coach. And you that's why play calling is tough. That's why everybody acts like it's easy. I think it's really hard.
It's got to be.
Because you have to have a feel. From the sideline view, you don't have the best view. That's why they have to have guys up top telling them what happened. So you got to have a good feel for the game, making calls, understanding what is working and what is not. Because then if not, a lot of things aren't working, you're going to, I call it grab bagging, but I'm sure offensive guys don't call it. You'll start reaching, for calls that you didn't want to run in these certain circumstances to make it work. So I just think I don't want to lean into personnels as much as I would lean even more so in where we think we have matchups that we know we can win most of the time. That's what I would do in game, in moment, studying all week. Watch this. Watch how good the Jets defense looks this weekend.
Yeah.
They're going to look pretty good. They didn't look very good against the 49ers. So why is that? First of all, you're dealing with professional athletes. They got embarrassed. they got embarrassed. When you embarrass an athlete that's a pro athlete, it is a whole different level that next week because their job is on the line.
The Titans got embarrassed too, though.
The offense got embarrassed. Wait, in the second half?
Well, yeah, I mean, the offense, Will Levis, well, let's look at it this way. Will Levis got embarrassed.
I don't know if
Peter
anybody-
Skoronsky got embarrassed. J.C. Latham,
Right. I don't know
special
if-
teams.
Right. But when I'm talking about as a unit, they did not. There are some plays here or there on offense and special teams, but the Jets defense, who came into this season as a really vaunted defense, and I think they're a good defense. And so I think we're underestimating, and I thought a lot of people would do that. Think, well, we'll just be able to run the ball. We don't have the same personnel as those guys. We don't have the same scheme. Now, if it was me, I would try to do some of those things they did. But if that's not our personnel, and that's not our personality of what we do, why would I lean into something that most of our guys aren't comfortable doing? As an athlete, you want to do what they're comfortable doing most of the time. You want to try that anyway. I wouldn't say I wouldn't try them, though. I definitely would. I would try some of those plays. There is no way around it because I want to see if they fixed them.
Yeah, exactly.
So hey, man, I hope it works out, but those Jets defense dudes going to come out perturbed.
Well, we know Bill Callahan was also pissed, according to Dylan Radins yesterday in the locker room about their performance. Yeah, about their performance yesterday. So, there could be some pissed off offensive linemen.
Well, good. That's
hopefully.
It better be.
Better be. When we come back, we'll get to your phones. We got Mayor Ron on the line. We got a few other callers on the line, 615-737-1045. We'll continue our previewing of the Jets versus Titans this Sunday at Nissan Stadium. I'm Zach. He's Blaine. It's Blaine and Zach on 1045 The Zone. 1045 The Zone, Blaine and Zach here with you on a Football Friday. We've been dubbed the Real Ball Knower Show on the F&M Bank chat over on Zone TV. We are the real ball knowers. Love this show. We're the Real Ball Knower Show.
Yeah, no, I think the Titans should hire us, man.
They maybe should. Maybe we need to be in-house consultants. I'm sure they'll love that. 615-737-1045 as we go to your phones. We're going to go to weekly or daily caller, it feels like right now. Mayor Ron. Mayor Ron, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Wow.
Happy Friday, gentlemen.
Happy Friday, yeah.
It's always a pleasure to have the opportunity to speak with you.
Appreciate you calling.
I want to touch on a couple of topics that we've talked about here what y'all talked about here in the first hour. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I love the way that I hear Blaine talk about how he was always prepared for the first game of the season, because I was a PSL holder. I went to Memphis to watch the Titans play. I went to Vanderbilt to watch them play. So my preparation myself was the same for every game as a fan. And then seeing how hard work Blaine and that team worked the first few years, and when Blaine played, was impressive. And yes, you have to be, but so do the coaches. Mm-hmm. And the first game, the coaches on the special teams were not ready. They weren't ready. But all aside, and another thing is the first half, the game callers were saying that our team they've overlooked us, that this is a good football team. If the Titans continue to play like this, they're going to be reckoned with. Yes, the first half went crazy and things went wrong, but we can't count on improving by 5 or 10% across the board. If we improve by 10%, do we go from the last pass protection bottom 5 in the league to the top 5 in the league? If the defense improves 10%, are they going to hold the Jets to under 100 yards? So our expectations can't be too much. But, yes, this is our first home game. We can't be one-dimensional in whatever personnel we use. And we have to get out here and hope that Latham and Skoronski and Levis learn from their mistakes, not 5-10% better, but just 1 or 2 plays better is what we're looking for. And we know how good the defense is, and we hope they continue to be that good. Mm-hmm. Can we run on Sunday? I hope we can, because it could be a rainy day. There's rain in the forecast. We don't know what the weather's going to bring, and it may be a gut-wrenching offensive line, defensive line game on both sides of the ball. Mm. But all aside, let's put it all together, and let's go out there. Let's beat the Jets, and let's get the Jets back where it goes. We're going to go 1-1. We're going to defend our home, and we're going to win this game. We're going to go out there, and we're going to win our home games. And if you have opportunity, guys, go to a high school game night and see some football.
Oh,
love it. Love it, Mayor Ron.
I appreciate it. It's not going to rain tonight. It looks good.
Got to start off, I feel like, for this particular fan base, and, with the new stadium, even though it's like ways away, but there's a constant reminder a new stadium is coming. you gotta show this team cannot afford. I mean, it can't afford, but it can't afford to put a dud. It can't. It's got to be out here, be competitive, even if it results in a loss. This team's got to come out in front of this home field and put some people in the dirt, be violent, be exciting, and be competent. And that sometimes when you're all those things, it doesn't result in a win. But I agree, if this team comes out and does that and puts up a better showing, win or lose, at least fans will say, hey, this team's got something going, just wasn't their day.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you want is consistency. I think Coach Belichick was just kind of doing a generalization of if every player kind of thought in that manner. Yeah. I think so yeah. And so just a couple plays here and there for different guys, and I'm sure I was always in that boat as well. But there was games one play I was just like, man, it didn't even impact the game. Yeah. I wanted to play perfect, but you're never going to do that. So you want to try to streamline and try to say, okay, what can I do to be the best version of me? And if I do my job and everybody is thinking that same way, you'll come up on top after that. First of all, they have to set the tone. Nobody beats us in our house. Mm-hmm. That has to be said. That has to be said. You got to have some pride in playing at home in our house. And so, I don't know where the team is at on that whole situation and the coaching staff, because it starts at the top with them. And, you got to defend it. And then when you come here, you're going to be in for a bloodbath. That's just how it's going to be, whether it's rain or shine. And you don't have any excuses for what may go wrong. You just want to come at the end of the day on top. I don't care if it's 1 point. That's it.
Well, when we come back, we'll talk to Dr. Detroit, who wants to talk about some foosball. I'm Zach. He's Blaine. This is Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone.
Foosball? Hey guys, this is Blaine for Edge Peptide Therapy. Listen, I've been hearing about peptides and peptide therapy now for a few months and was curious. So I finally went to Edge Peptide Therapy to find out more. And they did a full blood panel that showed where my body had some small deficiencies. And then they came up with a tailor-made plan to address those areas with peptides. And since I started my peptide therapy, I have noticed I am full of energy, no pains and aches all over the place from my elbow to my back to my neck and all over the place. And well, recovery peptides are great for healing post-injury or surgery, so you recover quicker from your workouts, joint pains and arthritis pain and overinflation. So old or new sports injuries, recovery peptides help with all of this. So if you're looking for an alternative to surgery, consider talking to Edge first. And this month, Edge is offering $150 off your first peptide package for new clients. So why not get started now? So go to edgepeptide.com. Yes, that's edgepeptide.com. Or you can just give them a call at 615-724-1878. That's 724-1878.
Blaine and Zach, hour number 2 here on 104.5 The Zone. Brought to you by All Four Seasons Garage Door, 615-737-1045. If you want to get in on the conversation, talk Tennessee Titans versus Jets. And you, of course, can always get a hold of us over on The Zone TV, F&M Bank Chat, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. We're going to go to Dr. Detroit, as promised, who wants to talk about some foosball. Dr. Detroit, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Or football.
I can hardly contain myself. How you guys doing?
Doing good. How are you?
What are you going to say, Dr. Detroit?
Bad Deadpool. Ron Reynolds, get up. Anywho, I don't mean to sound like a Debbie Downer, but I feel like the Jets are going to win by 10.
Come on, Doc.
What makes you say that?
No, I hate saying that. I don't want to say it, but, I mean, you got a more caliber quarterback on the Jets' offense than what we've got. Now, I think Levitz will learn from his mistakes and not hit the panic button and make his legs automatically run like a electronic ball field back in the 70s. But anyway, I don't know. I just see a lopsided. And hey, I sort of feel like Baker Mayfield will get his revenge against the Lions Sunday. I mean, I don't know why I'm feeling that. I tell the truth. George Washington did cut down that cherry tree, though, so we tell the truth. But anyway, your viewpoints of it, I'll listen off there. God bless.
All right. That was Dr. Detroit.
Yeah. My viewpoint of the Titans is going to win 20-17.
Look at you.
Yeah, that's going to be what we call my shot or whatever.
All right.
Do. Yeah, I'm calling it right now.
Speaking of, I guess we could give away. Thank you for bringing that up.
That's why we're partners.
We're not doing call your shot because we got a lot going on today and we still got a lot to get to. But caller number 5, if they'll call in, you have a chance to call in for a chance to win 2 tickets to see Titans versus Jets this Sunday. So caller number 5 right now. I want to the score predictions aside and everything. I understand there's a lot of people really down, but there's one thing people should be excited about, Blaine. A fully healthy team for the Tennessee Titans.
What?
No injury designations whatsoever. And I want to pull this into maybe some. It's been a long time, but this is something I want to kind of shift to because we've been talking about the changes on the offense, personnel, and all that kind of stuff, and running the ball, passing the ball doesn't matter. But the defense played lights out, and the defense are getting 2 reinforcements. They're getting Otis Reese, who maybe also is a reinforcement on special teams, and then they're getting back Jamal Adams. Now, last week they didn't play any 6 defensive back sets or more. So, sometimes you can play 7, I guess, but no 6 defense back sets, so no dime packages. And we thought that when Jamal Adams got signed, they'd be playing a lot of these extra defensive backs in the box set. Like, you still will have your 2 safeties. Now it's Quandre Diggs and Amani Hooker. You'll have your 3 corners and Roger McCreary, L'Jarius Sneed, and Cheeto. But now Jamal Adams could maybe come into the box or come into these dime situations. What does that do for an offense when you look across the field and you got all these defensive backs, and they're probably the 6 best defensive backs the team has now that Jamal Adams is healthy. But you have Jamal Adams, who is known to blitz, known to pressure, known to stop the run, is also in there in this game. So, what can Jamal Adams bring to this defense that we didn't see in week 1?
Well, it depends, what's the plan of attack. I don't know who their tight ends are.
Tyler Conklin, and I don't know the other guy.
Conklin's a solid player. So, usually you use the 6 defensive backs because you're bringing in a better cover guy. Sometimes it brings alarms bell where offenses think they can run the football because typically that guy's a linebacker. So if he's kind of that tweener guy that can kind of play the role of a linebacker, blitz, cover, and play the run, and you feel like, you're not missing that much, maybe just a bigger guy, but it still holds not if it's 3rd and 6 or more, then I think they're going to utilize him a lot. And by the way, don't forget, he's playing the team that drafted him.
Yeah. Is that extra motivation? I assume it is, but I think our revenge game's a big deal.
Hey, I'm going to say this. You look for all things that can give you the edge, but in theory, those are things that really don't give you the edge. You better make sure you keep your emotions in check. You know what? It took me all the way to year 10 to make sure I came back to play the Titans in week 1. Imagine that off season, right?
Right.
And guess what Andy Reid kept telling me? But I still didn't get it till Thursday. The Titans are just another team. And then I finally clicked at practice. I was running around hitting people like it was the real game.
Yeah.
He's like, Blaine, it's just another game. And if you play just like that, you'll be fine. And that's exactly what I did. You know, so it's not against the players. It's really about your mindset that you felt like, you know, you unjustly were cut or released or whatever, however the situation is. I finished on IR. I've never been on IR. So I think you got to look at it and approach it just like that. If not, then you'll go out there and play with emotions and get yourself out of position. But it can give you a little bit of edge when you do the contact, as far as a defensive player, when you hit that contact, you may have a little extra burst, there at the last few seconds.
So let me ask you this. When you bring in, I guess there's different ways who leaves the field. Like when you're bringing in Jamal Adams, so you're going to so you think that, because I want to ask this question.
Jones or Gibby goes out.
Jones or Murray. Would you rather have Jones off the field and Adams on the field? Or, I mean, because I feel like Jones is at this point provides you more athleticism. He's a little bit younger, but more athleticism and the same perks as Jamal Adams.
I don't know if they're going to utilize him in that manner. I don't know. That's a coach's decision.
I was just asking.
A good example of that is we did 6 defensive backs, even 7 versus the Rams in the regular season, the Super Bowl year, and we won with that scheme. We didn't do that when we played them in the Super Bowl in the same season.
Gotcha.
See, so it just depends on what your preference is. But whoever, if they decide to use Jamal Adams, it's a linebacker's out. And I want to assume that Murray stays out there.
Yeah. So you'd rather make sure Murray's out there the whole time, even more so than Ernest Jones.
Right. How long has Ernest Jones been on team?
Well, it's been 2 weeks.
Right. But I'm getting it. No, I get it. Once he gets solidified that knowing he's going to be the starter probably this week.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not in the meeting rooms and knowing how comfortable the team is and the coaching staff is with him being the lone, linebacker. It could be him.
Yeah.
But guess what? I paid $8 million for Murray to be here, and I'm gonna have him standing next to me.
Yeah.
If I'm a coach, I'm looking like that. Like, why are you standing next to me?
Gotcha.
You make 8. Jones makes 3. I'm not getting my bang for my buck. Yeah, for now.
Yeah,
all this season. This season.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it's just, so sometimes that kind of dictates, and he's a better athlete now. Is he a better player? I don't know. So, it's up to them to make that decision. I'm not going to call out, but there's only going to be one linebacker out there if Jamal Adams out there or anybody who's playing in that role.
Okay. So let me ask you this. The Garrett Wilson, obviously big time target.
Yeah.
And we kind of talked about this a little bit last couple days ago. But with L'Jarius Sneed, and L'Jarius Sneed didn't travel a whole lot, or shadow.
And I told you he wouldn't.
He told me he wouldn't. Do you expect that to change this week? Ooh. I mean, because this would be the week it seems like you would do it.
Well, you said it was last week.
I would do it last week, personally. And look, he even said that he only the two receptions for 18 yards that he thinks he allowed in that game, he says that was too much. So he's got to chip you. You talk about guys that are pissed, and he's pissed.
He's special.
So do you need to put that guy on it? Switch up what you showed, right? Because you showed something different week 1. Show something different in week 2 on this defense and put L'Jarius Sneed. Or is it just a case that you just maybe if you don't do that and Garrett Wilson's on one side, you bracket coverage over there, and you still are wiping out whatever side of the field L'Jarius Sneed is on, because if he's going up against Allen Lazard, I think it's a no contest.
This is a tough one. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Really, there's a part of me going in the regular season.
Yeah.
You stay on your sides. We get to the playoffs. Now we're matching up with the best on the best.
Yeah.
Now there probably are times you want to win. Like in Garrett, it's obvious he had, I think, 11 targets. It was like the third quarter, Wilson. So if I was watching Phil bringing it down, this may be the week that I would do that. My natural thought process is I like to play sides for my corners until we get to the playoffs, and then we kind of match up because everybody's elite. But in this game, it's pretty obvious that Aaron Rodgers likes Wilson. I may want to put my best on him. Now, that would have to follow every time, whether it's man or zone, as I said last week. So this may be the one because, man, he love him some Wilson. And Wilson is a special player, but I don't think he's seen nothing like Snead.
11 targets. And
11 targets, like I said.
So with that, that's also kind of an advantage going further, right? Because now you've seen this team against DJ Moore. Now you've seen this team against, Garrett Wilson. Zone one time, shadow coverage the next time.
Yeah,
that's probably a benefit when you go into the third or the fourth or fifth game because you've shown multiple things on tape, right? Keep other offenses guessing, you would assume?
Well, when you're doing individual matchups, I don't know if offenses really care. What can they do? They decided to run with their receiver, in the one game. And I don't know if that kind of changes anything unless you're only doing it with a giveaway. They only do it when it's man-to-man. Well, then you tell them what you're doing. That's why I said he has to follow them even if it's zone.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if that's a benefit to the offense, but hey, man, you want to put your best on the best. I think, this may be the game. I would do it. Because it's pretty clear that he is elite and Rodgers knows it and he's trying to get him the ball.
Yeah.
Actually, that's how he got a pick. The guy, Lennar, broke on the ball and tipped it, and then the other guy intercepted. That was to Wilson. Then Lazard, the wide receiver for him, dropped a first down. And then he came back and went back to him on a busted play and threw it to him for a touchdown. So he has a relationship with those two guys. And so I think if you want to put your best on their best, Woozy or whoever, Brownlee, whoever you want to put on them, on Lazard, I think we match up well. McQuarrie, I think we could do good either way. But man, Garrett Wilson, he's good. He's really good. I think I'm doing the Snead. I'm doing it. Your call. I'm calling it. Yeah,
I would do it. So
I would do it, but
Snead,
you would do it every week, and that's not how it works in the NFL.
I know, but I would do it. I've learned that in week one.
Mm-hmm.
Week two, I still would do it because I think that when you talk about, then you're limiting what the offense can do. Right, you're talking about defense dictating what you could do, limiting the offense.
No, you're not limited.
I think you're limited because I don't think Alan Lazard is that good, and I think that Breece Hall, you just got to stop the run.
Right. So here, use this. Go backwards.
Okay.
Let's reverse the philosophy. You put Snead on Lazard. These are some of the things we used to do.
Yeah.
Snead on the number 2. Take him out. He's done. Double.
And then
Garrett
you bracket
Wilson.
over to Garrett Wilson. So that was my.
See?
What would you do?
When you put
But
your
do you
number
think
2 guy though.
But do you think that I feel like Garrett Wilson can take down even a bracket coverage? I think he's that good.
So even over Snead? With Snead?
No, not with Snead. But I'm talking about if I'm choosing between Snead on Lazard, Snead on Wilson, I'm choosing Snead on Wilson. Just for the record, Snead and Wilson played each other last year, and it was 3 for 6 for 24 yards. 3 yards after the catch and 1 first down for Garrett Wilson. And 24 of those yards came on one 14-yard catch.
Watch this. Did you also do your research and did they match up? I don't think so.
I don't know, but I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm just saying. But
he was my DB coach in Philly.
I would put him.
But you're giving me the numbers, but they didn't match up. So it was only a limited amount of times he was on them.
Right. What I'm saying is those are good numbers.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
But that didn't make him. He knew he was going to do that.
I'm not saying that that's evidence to shadowing or anything. What I'm saying is that when he's on him, he can limit him.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I'm wanting. I'm wanting to limit that guy.
Year, or that was his second year?
Second year.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. I want to limit Garrett Wilson, and I think the best path to do that is with L'Jarius Snead on him all the time.
Watch this. One of Aaron Rodgers is back to Aaron Rodgers, and it doesn't matter who's on him, and he still finds a way to get the ball to him. What do you do then?
I don't know.
And the ball gets there. He makes
probably
it
over.
Throws it back shoulder.
Let me say something. If it's Aaron Rodgers is back to Aaron Rodgers, I don't think it doesn't matter where you put him on.
I'm what you're thinking though.
Yeah.
I'm going. You convinced me. I'm going to match up this week.
Yeah. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about this Titans Jets game. I'm Zach. He's Blaine. This is Blaine and Zach. A wonderful
special guest. Hey, Tennessee, summer's in full swing, and Cool Ray's here to make sure your home is ready for all the fun and the sun. And we've got some sizzling deals that will keep you comfortable and worry-free all season long. So ensure your family stays hydrated and healthy with free water quality testing, because nothing beats a refreshing drink of pure water on a hot summer day. And Cool Ray also offers a $149 main sewer line camera inspection. And right now, they also offer 15% off whole home dehumidifiers, as well as $500 off whole home generators. So let Cool Ray take care of your home so you can focus on making family memories. So call us today and take advantage of those scorching hot deals. Cool Ray, your trusted partner for a cool and comfortable Tennessee summer. Tennessee, cool, plumbing right, and lights bright, but all you need to do is go to coolray.com.
I love living in Middle Tennessee. We've got great restaurants, entertainment, sports, and one of the nation's top Ford dealers right here in our backyard, Two Rivers Ford. Remember that name. Two Rivers has been a staple in our community since 1983. They're locally owned. They have a non-commissioned sales team, and they sell below MSRP. They've been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
We can't stop that feeling here on this Football Friday. I'm Zach. He's Blaine. This is Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Door. And we have a special guest in the studio, and I'm going to toss it to the hitman, Blaine Bishop, to introduce the special guest.
Yes, my personal friend, man, Griffin Pinkow. And, man, I am super excited. He is blind and has done a lot of different things for a lot of people in this community, done it all across the country, actually, with your foundation, Foreseeable Foundation.org. So, man, I'm super excited. First, Griffin, tell us a little bit about how this all came about with you and how you became blind. I thought it was a fascinating story when I first learned this a couple years ago or so. And, you know, and you used to have vision. Kind of take us through, you know, that whole process of how you found out.
Sure, Blaine. Well, thanks for having me on. But we actually found out through sports, funny enough. When we moved around a couple times when I was younger, I actually was always an athlete and made the travel baseball team around 11 or 12 when we moved out to California. And one day I just couldn't see the ball off the bat. I'd be running one way and the ball would be going another way. And we realized there was something wrong there, that's not Griffin. My dad could throw me 100 pop flies and I'd catch 99 of them. And after going to doctors all over the country, they gave me glasses, and I got glasses thinking that would help. And I have retinitis pigmentosa, which is a retinal degenerative disease that slowly takes your peripheral vision and shrinks until you have no vision at all. We had no idea at the time. They thought the glasses would help, and I had a night game, did really well, had no problems. And the next day at practice, I said I couldn't see again. And that led us on the journey to trying to figure out actually what the issue was and what the problem was going on with my vision. We went back to doctors all over the country, went back to my doctors in New Jersey, where I'm originally from. She said, I see some pigment on the retina. And then a few months later, I was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa. No one in my family has visual challenges or RP. And I always say I was the lucky one because I turned something that could be really negative and a challenge from a young age to now, being in my early 30s to helping a community that I'm a part of and giving back and doing a lot actually here in Tennessee as well. We do things all over the country, but that's kind of how the journey started.
Man, how did that impact you when you first heard about, man, you were going to lose your vision? And did you believe that you would get it back? And is there still a possibility that could actually happen?
It's funny and interesting, Blaine. I think at that time when I was 11 or 12 and something as devastating as having to tell your son or daughter, you're going to lose vision, we don't know how much or when, or this is something that's going to change your life forever and the rest of your life. I never really, maybe at that age, I didn't really know to fully understand what was happening and going on with my vision and how it was going to change my life. But two, I've always been positive and I never felt, sorry for myself or really had a pity party. I always thought, well, it's just something I can't change, so I can change other things in my life and make more people comfortable with it. I was able to make my family and friends more comfortable with my visual impairment and blindness. Up until around high school, I didn't really want to talk about it, but realizing that it could be a positive thing and I could help other people be able to understand what I was going through by being open and talking about it made it easier. And now doing things that I don't think most people would do with vision that I do with little to no vision doesn't really change what I do as a person. And I always have the question of, well, if you got your vision back, would it change how you live your life? No, I don't think it would. I'd just be able to see things a little bit better. And there's always working on research and different clinic things going on in that space. So at some point I've been told they might be able to restore my vision, but I don't think it's going to change how I live my life right now.
I guess talk a little bit, not about the actual event that's going on October 12th, but talk a little bit about some of the things you've done here in Tennessee and different places in New York. I mean,
Yes.
With the horses and everything. It's just, take us through a little bit of your journey of what you've been doing in the community.
Yes, here in Tennessee, moved here about 2.5 years ago, and through Foreseeable Future Foundation, our mission is to help the visually impaired and blind live more fulfilling lives through sports and recreation. We do that all over the country by helping different camps, clubs, and clinics specifically for the visually impaired and blind community, mostly kids and young adults that feel left out or don't know that these opportunities are available for them. So giving them the empowerment and the support by going to participate in sports and recreation. Here locally in Tennessee, we've done different things by doing a ski program and sending kids that are in the local public school systems here who are visually impaired or blind to Aspen or to Vail to experience skiing and what that's like and being more independent. We've done ranch programs that we've started all over the country, and we've done a lot here for the Tennessee School for the Blind and just the visually impaired and blind community in general, sending them to different ranches so they could figure out and experience what it's like to ride a horse, what it's like to have the wind on your face while you're catching a fish on a fly, and do all these things that they didn't even realize they could do, and make sure that they have these opportunities like their peers.
We're on with Griffin Pinkow with foreseeablefuture.org.
What are some of the misconceptions associated with the BVI community and their abilities?
That's a great question. Well, a lot of people, they either see a cane or dog, and they don't know how to interact with a visually.
You have your dog with you today, man.
I do.
I know him really well.
Yeah, Blaine and Lester, my guide dog, who's a black lab, who's with me. He's the real special guest. He loves everyone, but when you see someone with a cane or a dog, most of the community doesn't know how to interact or doesn't want to say the wrong thing. And I think they realizing that we're like anyone else, that we can do anything. We're athletes, we're people who are visually impaired, or doctors, lawyers, that we're like anyone else. And you just need sometimes either the right person to help you, the mentor, or even just realizing someone saying you can do this and this is how you can do it, and making sure that you have the right tools, whether it's adaptive equipment to be able to do your schoolwork or a guide to help you run a marathon. I think those are some of the misconceptions, that they see a cane or a dog and they think, oh, just a poor blind person, how can we help them? That's really not the case, that we're like anyone else, and we're not aliens, but we can do anything really, as long as we have the right support system and help, and be able to show people what we can do.
If you could go back and tell your younger self what would happen to you, what would you say? Because you talked about how hard it was early on, and, for your parents and for you, what would you go back and reassure yourself or tell yourself?
I think the younger, if I could do that, it would be saying embrace everything earlier, because I didn't want a cane for a long time. I thought it was one more step towards being not as independent, even though it was independent. It would help me be more independent. Getting a dog, getting Lester, all these steps to, oh my goodness, this is real and I have to deal with this. If I could say embrace it earlier with being more open about it, being willing to talk about it, educating more people, and embracing the tools and things that can help you be more independent, it's going to make your life easier, and it's going to make everyone else around you understand in a better way as well. So that took a long time for me to be able to embrace that and overcome that. But once I did, it made everything a lot easier.
Can you talk more about how Foreseeable Future Foundation, which is future.org/about if you want to learn more, but how it came about, who's involved, where you guys are at now, what you're aiming to do?
Sure. So I actually, at college at Susquehanna University, a small little liberal arts school in Pennsylvania where I attended college, I had people say, well, what can and can't you see? And at that time, I didn't really know how to explain it or what my vision actually was at the time. So we did events on campus, we did a dining in the dark and different awareness events, and raised money for research. And that kind of showed me that I have something here and I need to start something. So a couple of years after graduating from Susquehanna, I started Foreseeable Future Foundation, and that's where the journey started, with wanting to help the visually impaired and blind. I love sports. You get a lot out of it physically, mentally. You make friends. It's a big community. So started with the sports and recreation component. And we started by helping different camps and clubs and clinics all over the country to give sports and recreation, make it available to people that can't actually participate or are left out of their PE class or whatever the case may be. So we started there, and now we've grown to do different ranch opportunities all over the country. We help thousands of kids, young adults, and veterans all over the country. And we also have started an advocacy curriculum to give people their own tools to figure out how to make sure they're an advocate. Because when I was younger, that was always a challenge, making sure I got what I needed and figuring out how I could advocate for what I needed. What we're doing now, besides growing all those programs, are doing different events in the local community, where we are growing more and more programs, like in Tennessee, and this event that we're doing next month here at City Winery, just trying to give more opportunities to the visually impaired and blind all over the country. So that's kind of how it started, where we're going, and what we're looking towards.
There's some people in the chat sharing some stories and stuff, and there's a guy in the chat that says he played a blind pitcher in high school about 10 years ago, and he was a bad dude, and through 90 miles per hour could hit corners like Greg Maddux. Wow. And I was just kind of wondering, we've been talking about the misconceptions and all this kind of stuff, but you are an athlete yourself, so how did losing your sight affect your ability to do sports?
Right. Well, so at first, when I was told I couldn't play baseball, I couldn't do certain sports that I love, and I had done my whole life, I didn't really know what to do. And then around college, I had a friend who said, well, let's run a marathon. And I looked at him like he probably had 3 heads. I thought he was crazy. Like, I'm going to go run a marathon. Right. And he said, no, I can guide you. And there's all these other adaptive sports you can do as someone losing vision. So that's how it kind of went from a devastating time in my life, not being able to be active or not being able to do sports, to learning about all these other adaptive sports I could do. And from that, I ran my first marathon in 2014. I did New York City and a few other marathons, and now I'm a nationally ranked tandem cyclist in the U.S. But I think it's more the mental component, that's how I deal with the vision loss and the challenges on a day-to-day basis, that if I'm having a tough day or a challenge, I can work through it by fitness and sports. It's given me a big community. I've met a lot of incredible people through sports and recreation, and it's really just made a big impact in my life. And then through that, being able to help raise funds. I mean, it's a small organization, Foreseeable Future Foundation, but in June at our big gala in New York City, we raised over $1 million to help thousands of people all over the country. So we're doing, even though it's small, we continue to grow, and we're doing things all over. But I don't know what I would do without sports in my life.
Well, tell us a little bit about City Winery before we let you go, and your event you got coming up October 12th, and what it's going to be like and what to expect.
Sure, Blaine. So we're doing this event on October 12th, as you mentioned, at City Winery. It's going to be a really unique, different experience. We're partnering with another organization called Sight School. A couple of my buddies, Lex Gillette and Joe Gray, are Paralympic track and field athletes, and they have an organization as well that we're working with called Sight School. But it's just to bring awareness to the education that Foreseeable Future and Sight School are doing, some of the programming that we're doing here in Tennessee as well. So we're using it as a fundraiser to benefit some of the programs and to continue the work in Tennessee. We have popcorn and champagne. We're going to have a red carpet where people are going to be interviewed. They get to meet special guests. We're going to have Olympians.
You're going to have some NFL players, some of my compadres there as well.
We're going to have some NFL players. We're going to have some Paralympians, some Olympians, a lot of people that we've helped and served in the local community here. So you get to meet them and see the impact that it's truly making on people here in Tennessee. And it's just going to be a really special event. We're including dining in the dark as well, where you're going to have to eat part of your meal with little to no vision to give you that experience of what it would be like for someone like myself trying to do that, and just a really fun, special event. So we're excited to have that next month and continue the incredible work of helping visually impaired and blind people here in the state of Tennessee.
Man, I think that's fascinating. We're going to eat in the dark because you want us to see what it's like to be blind. I mean, this is going to be interesting. I'm excited. I can't wait till the event comes up October 12th. That is actually my late great mother's birthday, so I'll be excited to be there on that moment.
We're going to be celebrating a lot that day, Blaine.
Yeah, no doubt. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, awesome. That was Griffin Pinkow. Thank you for coming in. Foreseeablefuture.org/about to learn more. You can also, hey, listen, if you want to see a blast from the past, you can also go on YouTube and search for Griffin and Kathy Ireland on Good Day New York. That's also there. You can go to griffinpinkow.com and facebook.com/Foreseeable Future Foundation and instagram.com/foreseeable.future for everything.
And the link for City Winery is on the website too. If people want to, if they want to donate or if they want to support or come to the event, all the information's on the website as well with the link.
There'll also be a silent auction as well. Souvenirs you could take home. Everything, like you said, the Foreseeable Futures Dine in the Dark and Sight School's Sightless Sipping will also be involved on that. So are you all still accepting sponsors for that as well?
We are, yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So become a sponsor. You can go to their website, become a sponsor for that as well, and learn more about foreseeablefuture.org. Thank you so much, Griffin, for coming in.
Thank you both for having me. And Lester says thank you, too. That's another special guest everyone will be able to meet, my guide dog.
Yeah, awesome.
No doubt.
Awesome.
He's special.
Thank you.
He's awesome. He's been very good in studio. When we come back, we'll be talking more about the Tennessee Titans and their our expectations and maybe one or two big keys of the game that we think are going to really dictate where this game goes. I'm Zach. He's Blaine. This is Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone. It's NFL week, and FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, has a special offer to kick us off now. Through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com/Zach. That's FanDuel.com/ZACH to download America's #1 sportsbook. Tennessee must be 21 and over and present in Tennessee. Full price of NFL Sunday Ticket will be automatically charged seasonally after free trial. No refunds, terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. Gambling problem? Call Tennessee Redline 1-800-889-9789.
Well, look, I think it's a level playing field. I don't think, no team played more than the other one did in preseason or practiced more or, so it's all probably about the same. I think the conditioning levels are going to be a lot higher going forward, but it didn't look like it was an overriding factor. I think the biggest thing on conditioning was teams that use a lot of the substitution, like the Jets last few years. The Jets have brought those defensive linemen in waves. Let them play 4 plays, bring in a new group. Let them play 4 plays, bring in a new group. And they were pretty balanced. Like all of those guys could play pretty well. I think when you got into a situation where either that second group is a lot less than your first group, or you just got to leave your first group out there and they wear down, there's a difference in the level of play.
That was Bill Belichick on the Coach podcast with Bill Belichick, talking about conditioning on week 1 across the league, but also talking about specifically why the defensive line for the Jets and maybe the defense as a whole just looked a little bit less, I guess you could say, conditioned than other teams as the game went on. Obviously, the Kansas City held the ball for a while. That plays into it. But the way they like to do their defensive line rotations, that is a key. That's like something maybe you would have picked up on it, Blaine, but I think the general public and the general people wouldn't probably have thought about, first off, week 1, week 2 conditioning. We do talk about football shape, but how they rotate this kind of like platoon hockey style defensive line rotation. And this could be a way that Tennessee Titans could exploit and attack this Jets defense, which has still got talent all across the board. So what do you think about it? It kind of starts with first extending drives, which the Tennessee Titans had a real issue with on Sunday.
Yeah, in particular in the second half. So, it'll be interesting to see if they kind of get up to speed. That's why I was, at least, I was saying I would have come out of the second half in preseason. I don't know if that would have helped any team, but you want to say as a coach, I did everything I could to get us as close as possible. Now, there's risk reward to that. Some guys could have got injured there in the preseason or not. But to me, it's interesting, playing football, you have to play football, especially the guys in the trenches. You can't simulate having contact like that in a game. Even in preseason, it's just at a whole nother level, as we saw. But it's fair for everyone. So everyone's somewhat in the same position unless you played them more or you were having more physical practices. And that got you up to the speed sooner than later. Maybe you would have got in shape by halftime.
Yeah.
Game shape is what I'm getting at. So there's a whole nother level of conditioning, as I mentioned before, how I would, at every season, I don't care what shape I was always in great shape, but that first drive was nothing like the breathing that you're doing, and you feel like you're going to just run out of gas because you're so hyped up, the adrenaline rush. You cannot simulate that in a preseason game. All those things are exhausting. And that takes wind out of you. So if you're on a long extended drive, and just think I'm a skill guy. So when I say that, I'm like, I could go 5 plays. I'm not touching somebody. I may be running, but I'm not touching somebody. Where the D-line, no line, they hit somebody every play. Yeah. And that's whole nother layer of banging and conditioning, which they are supposed to be ready for. But I think that's more wear and tear and when you're dictating on offense and you're running and you're getting a rolling, that, man, we're going to make them go into submission. It's like wrestling. You got them on their back. I'm going to make them tap out. And that's what they do. If they get to going and rolling and get into a rhythm and you can't stop them, they'll keep running. We all sit here and say the Jets going to have a solid defense. I don't know where they'll be, but they are a good defense, and they are better than what they showed. So I'm hoping we can get them in the same way. I just don't think we'll be able to do it the way the 49ers did it.
Yeah.
But we got to do it the Titans way in whatever version that is.
Which we still really don't know what that is. That's the biggest thing is about trying to figure out. You asked me to give my final predictions yesterday, Blaine. Like, where would you put it? As if I was talking to someone about it today. We were just kind of chit-chatting and stuff. And I said, if you would have asked me before the preseason, I would have said 8-9. If you would have asked me after the preseason, I would say 9-8. If you would ask me, if you would have, like you did, asked me yesterday,
after the first
I'd
loss.
be like, I don't know, because I don't know what this team is offensively. I know what I think they want to be and what they kind of told us, but I don't know if they can do it quite yet. And I'm not saying they can't. It's just like it's really hard to pin down where this team really excels on offense. And defense, you can point to a couple of different players. You can point to good coverages. They can line up against anybody on the outside, receiver, cornerbacks. You can do all this stuff. On offense, I'm just like, I know Calvin Ridley's good. I know Will Levis has a high ceiling. I know that, D-Hop is dependable. I know that, Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears provided different elements of explosiveness coming out of the backfield. I haven't seen it yet. But what's interesting about this team is that it ran 61 plays. I mean, do you remember last week someone called in and said, I want to see them run more plays? And a caller came in and said,
"Got to get more first downs."
Yeah. So they ran 61 plays because San Francisco ran 70. Mm-hmm. Tennessee Titans ran 61. The difference is that it took 13 drives for Tennessee to get to 61. It only took 10 drives for them to get to 70 offensive plays.
So that means they have more consecutive, longer drives than the Titans.
Right. It's something I talked about yesterday. Is like I'd rather see them go 7 and out and 8 and out than 3 and out. And I think anybody team would want to, but I think Peep fans want to see the big explosive play. But in reality, holding the ball an average of 3 minutes and 52 seconds on a drive and is a lot harder on the defense and tougher on the defense than having, let's say, 2 minutes and 41 seconds or 2 minutes and having a bomb. Because it's like Bill Belichick said, this defensive line rotation, they want to play their game. And if you get them to where they can't play their game, they're going to be less effective. And Quinnen Williams, less effective, is always good for any team.
Yeah, and he's a special talent. I even saw him play on the outside a little bit in the 49ers game. I just think the first game, usually in the NFL after the preseason game, it really doesn't tell you much about what the teams are going to be. Mm-hmm. So, and that's on both sides here.
Unless you have an established identity.
Yes, an established identity and an established team, like the 49ers. Even if they would have lost the game, I think you would have said, but this team is still going to be good. So it has a lot of moving parts, especially on offense, and it takes longer for the offense for whatever reason. I never did figure out why does it take so much longer for the offenses. Sometimes you put a whole bunch of good pieces together and it still doesn't work. And you wonder, okay, well, it'll take them 3-4 games or so where they get into a rhythm. Well, we don't have that kind of time. The timing is ticking. We got to get this thing going now. So I'm hoping they get into a rhythm, into a flow, just like the 49ers in their own Titan way. And then it all snowballs, and then all of a sudden you're off to the races. And by the way, we can't expect the defense to do that every game.
Right.
These guys are really good on offense. You hope you match up, but it can hang around. But eventually, defenses break too, especially when you're facing really good offenses. So hopefully it balances itself out after the season gets going and they play off of each other and they're supporting one another, and it's just not one way. But you got to develop who you are at some point, and that we're going to be this kind of team on offense and defense and special teams, and what you expect, and you do expect it every week in every game. So I just don't know, after one game we could say what really a lot of the teams are. So I'm hoping this second game can kind of give us a better hunch on what the Titans, 2024 team is going to be.
Looking at this defense, obviously, I mean, the advantage. Right, or I guess I wouldn't say advantage. I guess the best unit so far on the field that we've seen after one game, and maybe even you could count preseason if you want to as well, but after one official game is obviously the defense. And with a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who normally back in the day you'd be scared of giving him pressure up and through the middle because he was a lot more mobile, and maybe he's more mobile this week because he's had another game under his belt, but when you look at it and the interior pressure that this team can generate, how important is that to everything else? Is that like the first thing on a pass play that's maybe most important? It's like the catalyst for what else will happen into the play?
Well, yeah, pressure is always the key. I think against a veteran quarterback, I really thought about this for a while because I was really stooped on, like, how do you get after a veteran quarterback who's seen everything, who's been an elite level player, one of the best, and then now he's just a really good player. to me, it's getting him off his spot. And to me, pressure from Simmons and Sweat up the middle, that interior pressure is how you get him and get him off his spot, even with just 4. I think you got to get up in his face and you got to hit him. You got to hit him. I don't care if he completes the ball or not. You got to start. At some point, everybody's human. And if he's feeling pressure, then he's going to get off his spot. And then hopefully he's not the mobile guy. We haven't really seen, I want to say he's not as mobile, but he may be more mobile than we think he is at this point.
Yeah.
So I want to see if he is.
You want to test that?
Yes.
You want to test that?
I want to test it.
You basically, it's not only is a good litmus test for what the Tennessee Titans want to be, but it's also a good litmus test of what Aaron Rodgers can be.
Watch this.
Right off the go.
This game, I would get after the quarterback.
Yeah, got to, right?
I'm talking about sell the house.
Sell the house?
Yes.
Cover
Yes,
zero, more cover zero, because
Yes.
they played the third most cover zero.
But I'm talking about selling the house.
Sell the house.
You got to do something different for Aaron Rodgers.
Just got to bring it to him. No contain, because you don't have to worry too much about catching up to him, I guess.
Get after him.
Get after him. Well, we're going to get out of here, and after us is 3HL. Yeah. So make sure you stay tuned for that. I'm Zach. He's Blaine. This is Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone. And in the meantime.
And in between time.
Peace.